Mitsu. Mitsu never asked to be anyone's love interest. She was the leader of a Japanese rebellion, granddaughter of a village elder, and the older sister of a boy named Yoshi, and when the Turtles landed in feudal Japan at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles III, she had bigger problems than romance. Lord Norinaga was burning villages. Her people needed a fighter, not a suitor. But Michelangelo, being Michelangelo, fell for her anyway. He followed her into battle. He talked about staying behind in the past just to be near her. And here's where it gets interesting. Mitsu never once looked back. Her heart belonged to Kenshin, Norinaga's own son, a man on the opposite side of her war. Mikey wasn't a rival. He wasn't even a contender. He was a friendly face in a fight that had nothing to do with him. By the time the credits rolled, Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo had all quietly admitted they wanted to stay in feudal Japan, each for his own reason, and Mikey's reason had a name. She never said it back. That's the whole story. Some crushes get closure. Mitsu never gave hers any. She rode off with Kenshin, the rebellion won, and Michelangelo went home to New York carrying a feeling nobody on either side of that war had time to return. It's the quietest kind of heartbreak there is. Not a rejection, just a woman who was already in love with someone else before you showed up. Mitsu also went by another name in some corners of the story, Princess Asuka, and either way the title didn't change the outcome. She led an army, she saved her brother. She never once needed rescuing by a turtle from 400 years in the future, and that, more than anything, is probably why Mikey couldn't stop looking at her. Mitsu is a reminder that not every name on this list got a happy ending, or even an ending at all. Shinigami. She's not a princess, she's not an alien, she is, by the show's own design, one of the most dangerous women Michelangelo has ever met, and he fell for her anyway. In the 2012 series, Shinigami is a mystic witch, Karai's oldest friend from Japan, and eventually her second in command once Karai takes over what's left of the Foot Clan. She hides a pair of Hypno Stones under her hat and isn't afraid to use them, even against enemies as dangerous as Tiger Claw. This is not a woman who needs rescuing. And more than once, it's Mikey doing the rescuing instead, fighting alongside her against enemies like Razar, while trying not to let on just how smitten he already is. Mikey developed a crush on her almost immediately, and the show never fully commits to whether she returns it. What it does confirm is smaller and stranger. Out of every turtle, she finds him the funniest. Not the strongest, not the smartest. Oh, the funniest. That's the whole foundation of whatever this is. A killer who lets her guard down for a comedian in a shell. No wedding, no kiss confirmed on screen. Just one detail the writers were sure enough to lock in, and it's the detail that keeps this ship afloat. She likes talking to him. Coming from someone who could end most fights before they start, that's not nothing. Hit the like and subscribe button to see more videos like this. Leave a comment on your favorite Ninja Turtle. Let's get back into the video. Venus de Milo. Here's a case that breaks the format before it even starts. A love interest built for all four brothers at once. Introduced in the 1997 series Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, Venus wasn't a human mutated by accident. She was raised from birth as a ninja by a foster father named Chung Moisie, and when she joined Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo, the show wrote her in as a romantic wildcard for the whole team, not a single brother. She wore a Saiyan mask, trained in the same shinobi arts as her new family, and instantly complicated the group dynamic in a way none of the other three had to deal with. No other entry on this list works like this. Every other name belongs to one turtle. Venus belongs to the possibility of all of them, which is exactly why the show never had to pick a side and never really did. That ambiguity became her whole identity. The one turtle who never had to share the spotlight with three brothers, because for a little while, she was the spotlight. On screen, she was performed by two different actors depending on the shot, Nicole Parker and Leslie Sponberg, with Lelania Lindbjerg supplying her voice. A production detail that hints at just how much weight the show put on getting this character right. She's proof that even the most family-friendly Saturday morning corner of this franchise wasn't afraid to make things complicated. Renee. Of all 19 names on this list, only one turtle got a kiss confirmed on screen without a single asterisk next to it. That's Renee. She's the apprentice to Lord Simultaneous, a time-displaced sorceress with a habit of dragging the turtles into the wrong century, and in the 2012 series, her arc, Turtles in Time, she does exactly that to Michelangelo. He should be furious. Instead, he's smitten. He admires her fighting style. He likes that she's clumsy in a way his brothers find annoying, and he finds charming. And when the dust settles after the battle with Savanti Romero, Mikey asks her out on an actual date to ride horses through the Middle Ages, because sure, why not? Renee's answer isn't a yes, it's a kiss on the cheek and a promise that it would be nice to do that next time. That's more commitment than half the names on this list ever get. No ambiguity, no, it's unclear if she reciprocates, just a laugh, a kiss, and a maybe that felt a lot more like a yes. Out of every Ninja Turtle romance built on time travel, alien royalty, and mutant biology, the simplest one, a girl who likes a boy back, turned out to be the hardest one to find. Karai. Before she was Karai, she was Miwa, Splinter's biological daughter, stolen away as a baby and raised by the Foot Clan without ever knowing her real family. Leonardo doesn't know that either, not at first. All he knows is that she's the first Foot operative he ever crosses blades with in the 2012 series, and that she never actually tries to hurt him. She fights him, she toys with him, she treats him like a worthy opponent instead of a target, and the show makes clear the attraction runs both directions. But here's the exception that swallows the whole rule. She's the enemy's daughter, fighting under the enemy's banner for a man who murdered Leonardo's own father, figure in another life. April finds out first and reacts exactly how you'd expect. She slaps him with a newspaper for even talking to her. The betrayal runs deeper than either of them realizes. The Shredder, the man Karai calls father, is the one who murdered Splinter's wife and left him for dead in a burning house the night he stole Miwa away as an infant, which means Leonardo has spent years falling for the daughter of the man who destroyed his own family. It isn't until much later, after the truth about her real bloodline comes out, that the whole thing stops looking like betrayal and starts looking like two people on the wrong sides of a war neither of them started. Leo and Karai never get the easy version of this story. What they get instead is years of near misses, secrets, and a family tree neither of them asked for. Radical. Skip forward to the Mirage Comics' far future, and Leonardo isn't a teenager anymore. He's 129 years old, a bodhisattva in a kimono and a straw casa, carrying a carbon Bakken Donatello gave him for his 100th birthday instead of a blade. In the issue Swan Song, he narrates his own life story, and at the center of it is Raven Shadowheart, known to everyone as Radical. The comic doesn't ease into this one. It doesn't build the friendship first and let romance follow later, the way Renee's or Karai's stories do. Leo and Radical hold hands in the American Southwest desert, share a kiss, and by the end of the issue, they're described as soulmates bound together in something beyond ordinary love, all within a handful of pages. Even fans who love this era of the character have called the pacing jarring, a relationship the story simply insists is real, rather than earns. But here's where the tragedy lands. Radical's arch-nemesis, a villain called Complete Carnage, snaps her neck during what should have been an ordinary walk. Leo spends decades afterward chasing forgiveness before finally hunting Carnage down and killing him. The last kill of Leonardo's entire life, a vow he holds until his own death. Out of every romance on this list, Radical's is the shortest and the most devastating. A love story built and destroyed in the space of one comic. Princess Trib. Trib didn't choose to be royalty, she was born into it. Daughter of King Zenter and Queen Gisla, heir to the throne of planet Neutrino, and in IDW's ongoing comic, she spends most of her introduction getting kidnapped by the forces of General Krang, rather than sitting on any throne. Michelangelo and his brothers free her. He sticks around. By the time the Turtles are hauled back into Dimension X for the story arc The Trial of Krang, Mikey has appointed himself her personal bodyguard, trailing a literal alien princess through an intergalactic war zone because he can't stay away. The comic is honest about where this stands. His crush is confirmed, her side of it isn't. When they reunite at the Neutrino Royal trial, she hugs him. That's the evidence. That's the whole case file. No promises, no declarations, just a princess who keeps letting a turtle from Earth back into her life every time Dimension X falls apart again. Compare that to Renee, who gave Mikey a straight answer within one episode. Her parents make this stranger still. King Zenter is not a warm man. When Krang was finally delivered into his hands, Zenter didn't hesitate. He sentenced the Utrom despot to death on the spot and executed him personally. That's the family Michelangelo is courting into, whether he realizes it or not. A princess raised by a king who solves his problems with a gun, not a negotiation. Trib has kept Mikey waiting across multiple story arcs and one entire war, and he's shown no sign of walking away, in-laws included. Sarah Hill, her real name is Horridus, and she isn't from Earth. She's half alien, the result of her mother being abducted and secretly impregnated years before her birth. And when she finally arrived, her own adoptive parents were so disturbed by how she looked that they chained her in the basement with nothing but a television for company. In the Image Comics run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sarah Hill lives under that human alias, and whatever she and Michelangelo have together, nobody involved calls it a relationship. It's a hookup, plain and simple, no title attached, no future implied. And that's precisely what makes her different from every other name on this list. Kayla wanted commitment, Renee wanted a second date, Sarah Hill wanted none of that, and Mikey, for once, wasn't chasing a princess or a mystic warrior he couldn't fully have. He was just enjoying someone who wanted exactly the same low-stakes thing he did. It's the shortest entry in his whole romantic history, and maybe the least complicated. No love triangle, no unrequited longing, no war getting in the way. But here's the wait really moment. Sarah didn't just come and go quietly. Their time together left enough of a mark that Mikey turned around and wrote a romance novel about it, titled The Rose Among the Thorns, and the comic doesn't stop there. It becomes an in-universe bestseller, complete with a nod from Oprah's book club. Sometimes the simplest connection on the list is the one that quietly changes a turtle's career path. Siri. This is the one Mirage itself calls Michelangelo's most serious relationship, and it starts with the strangest job title in his history, Tour Guide. In Volume 4 of the original comic, Mikey is assigned to show a visiting alien dignitary around Earth, and his one and only tourist turns out to be Sari, the Regenta, princess, of an alien race called the Styracoudons. Rule number 1 of the job is simple. Don't let the princess out of her bodyguard's sight. Mikey breaks it immediately, sneaking her away for a real tour of the American coastline, eating fast food, swimming, saving her life with CPR after a lobster boat's net nearly drowns her off the coast of Maine. The relationship turns intimate. Siri lays a clutch of eggs, implied without question to be his. And then the story turns on him completely. Her bodyguard seize the eggs, drag Mikey back to her homeworld, and lock him in an extrajudicial prison where he's starved and tortured for weeks before escaping with a Triceraton cellmate who dies getting him out. What began as the most stable, grounded romance on this entire list ends with Michelangelo joining a Triceraton war party and turning his heartbreak into genocide against Sari's own species. Every other name on this list gives Mikey a crush, a fling, or a friendship. Sari is the only one who gave him children and then took them. Kala. Long before Renee, before Shinigami, before any of it, there was Kala, a neutrino girl from the original 1987 cartoon and the first real girlfriend Michelangelo ever had. She first arrives in the episode Hot Rodding Teenagers from Dimension X, part of a trio of joyriding aliens with radical 80s hairstyles and flying vehicles pulled straight out of a muscle car catalog, sent to Earth as fugitives from General Krang's forces. She's not a hookup. She's not a crush the writers refuse to confirm. Kala is, by every account, his actual girlfriend, an alien ally from Dimension X who fought alongside the Turtles against Krang's forces and stuck around long enough to matter. She set the template every version of Mikey's love life has followed since. Alien, adventurous, drawn to a turtle who never takes anything too seriously. Strip away the decades of spin-offs and reboots, and Kala is the blueprint. Every princess, every time traveler, every mystic assassin who came after her is really just a variation on the girl who started it all. Proof that some formulas get repeated because the first version simply worked. She wasn't alone out there either. Kayla arrived alongside two other neutrinos, Dask and Zack, introduced together in that same episode, and of that founding trio, she's the only one whose name ended up permanently attached to a turtle's heart instead of just his friend group. April O'Neil, Mutant Mayhem. For nearly 40 years, April O'Neil was the one constant in the Ninja Turtles universe who never crossed the line into romance, a reporter, an ally, a friend, but never anyone's girlfriend. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mutant Mayhem, released in 2023 and voiced by Ayo Edebiri, broke that streak. This April is a teenager, camera shy, and painfully awkward, chasing a journalism career while nursing the nickname Puke Girl after a humiliating incident at school. And it's Leonardo she ends up drawn to. The film keeps things careful. In the post-credits scene, she shows up to prom with him, and she's quick to clarify she's only there as a friend. But the setup underneath that line is unmistakable. For the first time in the character's history, April is written as Leonardo's love interest, not just his teammate. She's the one who ends up spreading the message across the city that the Turtles are fighting against the film's villain, Superfly, not siding with him, tipping the entire climax in the team's favor. It's a small moment in a much bigger movie, but it's a genuine first for a character who spent 4 decades standing just outside the romance plot. Turns out all it took to finally get her into one was giving Leo the nerve to ask. April O'Neil 2012 series. If Mutant Mayhem gave April to Leonardo, the 2012 Nickelodeon series gave her to Donatello, and this version doesn't hide behind a just friends line at prom. Across 7 seasons, Donnie's feelings for April are one of the show's most consistent through lines. Awkward, nervous, occasionally disastrous, and never once subtle to anyone but April herself. Donnie falls for her the instant he sees her, calling her the most beautiful girl he's ever laid eyes on before she said a single word back to him. He calls her "my sweet princess" in front of his brothers. He gives her a music box as a gift. He's the best friend who happens to be in love with her, the genius who can build a Krang-detecting scanner, but can't say 3 honest words to the girl standing next to him. For most of the series, April keeps him at a polite, slightly uncomfortable distance, saving her real interest for a hockey-loving vigilante named Casey Jones instead. But by the 5th season, that distance closes. April starts kissing him on the cheek and eventually on the lips, in scenes the show plays as more than gratitude. The show frames it plainly. Donatello is her best friend and her love interest. Not a maybe, not a fan theory. It's the clearest, longest-running romance in Donatello's entire history across every continuity, and it never needed a princess, a war, or an alien planet to make it work. Just 7 seasons of a turtle too shy to say what everyone else already knew. Mona Lisa, IDW. Donatello doesn't fall for royalty here, and he doesn't fall for the girl next door either. He falls for a fellow victim of the same mutagen bomb that trapped an entire community inside Mutant Town. Mona Lisa is introduced to him by Jenica, and the spark is immediate. She's impressed by his intelligence, he's impressed that she keeps showing up. She walks arm in arm with him to a concert. She kisses him on the cheek. She helps him rewire a derelict building he's converting into Mutant Town's first school, and when squatters attack, it's Donnie who steps in to defend her, offering the mutants inside internet and electricity just to keep the peace. Later, the two of them join a wider circle of friends, Alapex, Sally, and Jenica among them, for a night out at a heavy metal show at a venue called Kennel Club, arriving arm in arm like it's the most natural thing in the world. This is Donatello's second confirmed love interest, and it's the one built entirely on shared circumstance. 2 mutants rebuilding a neighborhood together, 1 wire, and 1 favor at a time. No time travel, no secret bloodlines. Just 2 people stuck in the same walled-off town, finding out they like being stuck there together. Batgirl. Donatello's third love interest doesn't come from another dimension or another comic universe entirely. She comes from a crossover. In the 2019 animated film Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Barbara Gordon is on a routine tour of Powers Industrial when the Foot Clan crashes through the wall, and by the time the credits roll, she and Donnie have built something the rest of the ensemble never quite matches. He calls the cure they invent together anti-ooze. She insists on calling it retromutagen. Neither one backs down, and somehow that becomes its own kind of chemistry. In the Batcave over pizza Batman brought back himself, she asks if it's all right to call him Donnie instead of the full name, and he tells her it's fine, a small detail, but the kind of detail writers only bother including when they want you to notice it. TV Tropes has a blunt way of putting it. Batgirl serves as the film's version of April O'Neil, the human ally who becomes the smartest turtle's closest confidant. It's not subtle, and it's not meant to be. Out of a 2-hour team-up built for toy sales and a Justice League cameo, the genuine spark between a Gotham detective and a mutant with a bow staff is the one relationship critics kept coming back to. Proof that even a crossover nobody expected to matter could still hand Donatello his most quietly charming entry on this entire list. Mona Lisa, 2012 series. Confusingly, there are 2 Mona Lisas in this franchise, and this one belongs to Raphael, not Donatello. Her real name is Yi Githgba, a Salamandrian warrior, and their entire relationship begins with her beating him half unconscious. When their 2 groups first collide over a valuable mineral called Irilium, she takes Raphael on in single combat and outmaneuvers him completely, hitting him hard enough to end the fight in seconds. Every other turtle on this list falls in love at first sight. Raphael falls in love at first fight, and he says as much out loud afterward, admitting he liked getting hit because it meant he'd finally found someone bigger, stronger, and better than him. He can't even pronounce her real name, so he renames her on the spot after the most beautiful woman he can think of in art. It sticks. Where the IDW Mona Lisa found her connection through shared circumstance with Donnie, this one finds hers through combat and stubbornness with Raph. 2 hotheads who understand each other precisely because neither one backs down, and by the time she saves his life from a horde of ice dragons, even his brothers stop pretending it isn't serious. Mona Lisa, 1987 series. This is the original, the one every later Mona Lisa is quietly measured against. She debuted in the season 4 episode Raphael Meets His Match, first appearing at a costume party aboard a yacht, where she talks Raphael into pretending to be her date and kisses him on the cheek before he even learns her name. What follows is a shipboard chase involving a pirate named Captain Filch and his mutant anemones, with Raphael at one point tackling her to the ground, convinced she's working against him, before learning she was actually trying to save the ship the whole time. She was an ordinary college student majoring in biology before Filch kidnapped her on a fishing trip and forced her to work in his underwater lab. And when she finally sabotaged his machinery to escape, a flood of radiation turned her into a half-human, half-salamander mutant. Instead of despair, she called it a once-in-a-lifetime transformational experience. That's the whole key to why she and Raphael work. He's the most bitter, most quick-to-anger turtle in the entire franchise, and instead of recoiling from her new reptilian look, he tells her flat out that he thinks she's cute. One mutant seeing another and meaning it as a compliment. She follows the turtles home to New York afterward and is never seen in that continuity again, a 1-episode romance the show never bothered to close the loop on. Even so, the pairing left enough of a mark that later writers kept resurrecting the name for decades. The show doesn't hedge on what she means to him in that single episode. She's described flatly as the object of Raphael's affections and his main love interest, no asterisk, no ambiguity. Where Mikey's romances come wrapped in princesses and time machines, Raph's very first one is disarmingly simple. A girl who refused to let a monster movie transformation ruin her outlook, paired with a turtle who needed exactly that kind of person in his life. Alapex. IDW's writers clearly knew a good formula when they saw one, because Alapex repeats the exact trick that worked so well for Raphael's Archie Comics girlfriend decades earlier, an antagonist turned ally who becomes something more. She's a mutant Arctic fox, first introduced allied with the Foot Clan, and like Ninjura, before her, she eventually turns against her old masters and sides with the Turtles. Alapex is described as often having a romantic relationship with Raphael, specifically. Not a crush, not a maybe, an actual pattern the comic returns to across its run. She's sharp, dangerous, and entirely capable of holding her own against him in a fight, which by now should sound familiar. Every serious Raphael romance in this franchise, from Mona Lisa to Alapex, follows the same rule. Give him someone who can match his temper, not someone who's afraid of it. Their story starts before any of that romance even has room to breathe. In a standalone IDW micro-series issue where Raphael finds Alapex being hunted through the night, unaware that the same story is quietly introducing the characters who would later become Bebop and Rocksteady. Out of that chaos comes a partnership that outlasts the villains around it. IDW didn't reinvent Raph's type, it just found a new fox to fit it. Ninjara. In the Archie Comics run, Raphael's longest relationship didn't come from a cartoon or a movie. It came from the pages of a comic willing to keep one girlfriend around for 40 issues. Ninjara started as a thief and assassin working for a dogman crime boss named Chien Khan, and had a genuine change of heart after crossing paths with the Turtles. From there, she and Raph were on and off for years, longer than any other pairing on this list managed to last. It didn't end in tragedy or betrayal. It ended the way real relationships sometimes do. She simply stopped being in love with him and moved on to a man named Mokashan instead. No villain forced them apart. No secret identity got revealed at the worst possible moment. She just felt what she felt, said so, and left. Writers Stephen Murphy and Chris Allen created her specifically so they could keep using her outside of Eastman and Laird's tightly held rights. And that freedom paid off. Ninjara even got her own spin-off years later, in a furry anthology comic called Furloaf, where she turned up again as a widow after Mokoshan had since died. In a franchise built on kidnapped princesses and alien wars, Ninjara's ending is almost jarringly human. And that's exactly why 40 issues of fans still remember her as Raphael's most substantial relationship outside of one very specific future. Mezcal, everything on this list, every crush, every hookup, every relationship that lasted one episode or 40 issues, was building toward this. In the Archie Comics glimpse of the future, first shown in the story Dreamland, Raphael is married. His wife is Mezcal, an anthropomorphic coyote who works alongside him behind the bar at a place called Turtles Island. In a version of Earth where rising water has flooded the world and the two of them live in an apartment right above the restaurant they run together. She's not a soft character even in domestic life. She's tough enough to physically throw troublemakers out of her own bar when they ignore her warnings, which tracks for a woman who chose to spend her life with the most hot-tempered turtle in the family. It's never made clear whether she even knows about Ninjara, the ex who came before her, but that detail barely matters next to the headline. Raphael is the first Ninja Turtle in any licensed story to be shown married. Not Leonardo with April, not Donatello with April or Mona Lisa. Even Leo's soulmate bond with Radical, deep as it was, never got the word marriage attached to it. Raphael, the hothead, the one who needed a salamander's optimism just to soften his edges, is the one who actually got the wedding ring and a life behind a bar counter with someone by his side. 19 names, 4 brothers, a comic book, 4 cartoons, and a handful of movies, and it's Raphael, of all of them, who ends up the one turtle in this entire franchise who made it all the way to I Do. Which one of these 19 surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments.